Good morning, everyone. First of all, I really apologize for being a little late. There was a little calendar mismatch, but I got my run in. I just came running from the south wing. Good morning. My name is Karanveer Singh. I'm a program manager on the Windows client team. And what we're really going to be talking about over the next 10-15 minutes is really what our approach is on how we want to go passwordless. Clearly, you guys are here because you must hate passwords. So I'll not go on that diatribe and tell us what's wrong with the world and how we got to solve it. We need to get rid of passwords. So this session really is a succinct version of, that was my VM trying to connect to something, but we'll not worry about that right now, is really about how we as Microsoft have been approaching the problem of passwords and how we systemically have been working towards trying to get rid of it. So what we want to do is share with you our strategy, then hopefully all the features that we always come and talk to you about, we can start reverse mapping them onto the strategy, and you can start seeing how the whole thing end to end comes to life. I have a demo. If I'm actually able to connect to the network, I'll actually show it. If not, I'm doing a session at 2:15 later today at the Chaplain Hall, which is the 60-minute version of this session. All right, so what does passwordless mean to us, right? This is a very interesting question that whenever we ask people, so before we go solving the problem of password and go passwordless, let's define what that means for us. Number one, let's get rid of the cognitive load, the password fatigue on our end users, right? A lot of the problems with passwords are really a byproduct of that. So the first thing is, from a user promise point of view, we want to say end users just never have to deal with passwords in their day-to-day lives. That starts with having to create them when they're signing up for new accounts, having to enter them when you're trying to auth, having to re-enter them, and then re-enter them, and then re-enter them. And then finally, when you forget them, how do you remediate? So all of that shouldn't be something that end users have to worry about, right? The second, which is, as security nerds in the audience, we really care about, is we want to deliver on a security promise where the replacement credential, so obviously we got to replace password with something. The replacement tech cannot be breached, phished, or cracked. Very important verbs that we want to attach to the security promise. Moving on. So what is our strategy? Well, the first and foremost, obviously, if we want to remove passwords and get rid of them, we got to develop something that is worthy of being a replacement technology. The way we think about that is, see, passwords are bad in a lot of ways. Agreed, yes. But passwords are also good in certain ways. They're portable. They're backward compatible. They just work everywhere, regardless of the ecosystem you're in. Now, these are very good properties of passwords that we gotta match with the not so great properties of passwords. So whatever we come up with as replacement technology has to do justice. So this is, again, just sharing with you our mental model on how we're thinking about ourselves developing the tech needed to get into a passwordless world, and how we expect our partners and customers and enterprises to do the same. The second is what we like to refer to as just the reduction of the user visible password surface area. What does that mean? That means you don't see passwords as an end user. You don't have to enter them when you're using your apps and services. You don't have to use them when you're logging into your PCs or other devices. Number three, let's transition into a passwordless deployment, right? No one's really going to yank the passwords from the directory unless you're sure that that would work. So what can we do? Can we provide you the necessary tools in place such that if you've deployed the replacement, you've really done all the work along with us to get rid of the surface area where users are interacting with passwords, can we now start simulating a world where how about we remove the human-generated aspect of passwords with perhaps machine-generated passwords? I'm sure some folks in the audience might know what Skrill is, right? So smart card only for interactive logon. What we did there was very interesting. The machine automatically generates 128-bit passwords that the user has no clue exist, but the system does. But for the most part, it's very secure. 128-bit entropy is as good as it sometimes can get, or 256 for that matter. But it's a very good indication of, if I were to finally yank the chain or pull the rug under the passwords, will my house catch on fire or not? And if things are looking good, we want to make sure that we give you eyes and ears into each of these phases such that you can assess the overall health state of your enterprise. And finally, if all's looking good, let's eliminate the passwords. Number three is when we expect to achieve that end user goal, right? Where the users don't have to deal with passwords. And of course, our end security goal of cannot be breached, cannot be cracked, cannot be phished, happens when passwords no longer exist at all in the directory. So what I'm going to try right now really quick is give you guys a very quick demo, and this, like I said, is going to depend on me being able to connect my virtual machine to the network here. All right, trying to connect. So what I'm really simulating is, imagine you want to, now I'm going to give you a glimpse of the tech that already exists. What kind of a user experience can you experience today? Then, once we've seen that, I'll take you back to the last slide, which is really about what you can try out today, right? So imagine you went to Best Buy, you bought your favorite PC and you love it, you bring it home, you want to set it up. How many people attended the saying goodbye to password session that happened on Tuesday? I see a couple of hands. So I'm guessing this audience knows what Windows Hello is? Cool. We also, with the same Windows Hello protocol, which is really a glorified private public key pair based authentication model, we understand how Windows Hello is actually, the private key that we always talk about Windows Hello sits on this device. But how do you use it if this device has never seen you before? We think of portable credentials. You know how we were talking about the portable characteristic of a password, which is very interesting. So we delivered this thing called the Authenticator app that actually lets you download an app from any store, whichever device you have in your pocket, and then set that app. And what that does is it actually does the same dance. It sets up a private public key pair with your identity provider, and now you're ready to go. So for all practical purposes, this has become my credential, right? So what I'm going to go through now is simulate this brand new PC I'm very excited about. I'm going to open it. I'll say I'm going to use it for personal use. You could choose the other option if you wanted to add your AD join your PC. This is the moment of truth. If my VM is actually connected to the internet, I'm actually going to see a username UPN field show up. So what this demo really is about is I'm going through the out-of-the-box experience right from the bat, right? Nothing special to this PC has been done. This is literally, I just powered this thing on. And as soon as it gets, so what it's trying to do right now is, because it's going to load some web content, we make it we host the web content in a container that's actually isolated, because Ubi runs at a integrity level that is high, and so we don't want any web content running there. All right, how about we wait for this guy in the background? I go back to the session, and if this actually boots up, I'll give you the demo. If not, 2:15. Here's a little cliff hanger. So now let's talk about, we talked about the strategy. Now I want to start mapping the existing features we have in our portfolio right now that you can experience today that you should start trying out. So if you are interested in taking your businesses, taking your enterprises to go passwordless, some things you can do. First, I know we've talked about this a lot. What's available today is Windows Hello for Business. It exists. It's actually very popular with our enterprise customers. Over 200 enterprises have deployed it fully, and we've got about 37 odd million active users using Windows Hello on a daily basis. The Microsoft Authenticator app is an excellent portable credential, which is based on the same tech that Windows Hello is based on. And this is how we're working actually with the industry as part of the FIDO Alliance to really put forth a standard so that Windows Hello doesn't just remain a Windows thing. That promise can be available on any ecosystem, and it has cross-app and cross-portability across the board. So first step, if you want to go passwordless, you've got to deploy something that replaces passwords. So you got to start this journey right now. Number two, now we're doing a bunch of work on our end as the Windows team and as services and products, including Azure and O365 and Windows, to really go after that reduction of password surface area. That said, there is a surface area that you guys own. It's called your apps, your LOBs, your workflows that today are probably dependent on, in some way, shape, or form, on passwords. That is going to become the biggest roadblock, adoption blocker for you. right? So you don't have to wait for everything to be in place. So you start that journey. Start that journey today. Start with Windows Hello deployment or other equivalents that you like. Start figuring out whether 100% of your workflows that you truly care about are compatible existing in that world or not. So upgrade to modern authentication libraries, because we have a very good story there where apps, services, web apps can just get seamless sign-on, single sign-on if you've used the password replacement cred of Windows Hello or otherwise. Then transitioning into the passwordless world, we got a bunch of modes, but you know what? Without going into the details, I'll give you a hack that we ourselves are using at Microsoft right now to figure out what are some of the things we got to go do. It's possible for you to literally set a policy that hides your password credential provider. What does that mean? When you set this bit, easy. Passwords as a sign-in option when it comes to unlocking your PCs don't show up. So how do you unlock your PC? You use Windows Hello. And the Windows Hello unlock experience is the best there is out there. When it comes to the flip side, when you've unlocked your PC and it goes to you being able to access your apps and services, if you're on the modern auth libraries and you've done our work to upgrade Windows, things will just work fine. And it actually is a great way to start identifying which of your apps will break, which of your workflows will break, right? And these can be very daunting because depending on the size of your company, there are a lot of workflows that you don't know exist, but they do. And the sooner you break them in a pilot contained environment, the sooner you can start fixing them. So yeah, one thing to set this policy, hide the password cred prob after you've gone through steps 1 and 2, and see the relative impact of having taken that step, right? If it breaks everything, well, go back. You got to fix, you haven't done justice to step 2. And finally, this is something that we're working on too, and a lot of things are coming that we're working on that'll help you actually go through a step-by-step process of finally saying, all right, I'm enterprise as an IT admin at a domain level or a tenant level, say that I'm ready to embrace the passwordless world. At that point, the directory gets rid of your passwords, and the devices and services that you have, that your information workers do, live on, and they can really exist in that world without ever having to enter passwords. Let's see now if I can go back to, so this thing is not firing up, but this is what I guess screenshots are for. So just to help you visualize what I was going to do, brand new PC, you connect to a network. At that point, a few screens. This is the money screen where I enter my UPN. Now, once you enter your UPN, and if you have the Authenticator app set up, what happens is as soon as you say, I'm so-and-so, I want to auth, the next thing is you get a notification on your phone right there, right? And you unlock your phone, go to this application, it shows you a screen that looks like this. What it says is, you're trying to authenticate to a session, let me give you a little identifier, and can you please match that same identifier on your phone as well, just to make sure that you are actually the person going through this flow and not someone else. Because the thing is, similar to how we're so used to just entering passwords whenever we want, and whenever a prompt shows up, we do it. It's the same with Touch ID and other things too. It's so easy that you just do it all the time. And sometimes that can lead to certain attacks where, while you might not have been wanting to authenticate, I, sitting in my basement, said, all right, I'm going to have this person auth, and you'll get a prompt and you'll just say yes. So this is a neat way of just making sure that you do some due diligence before you approve a session. So you tap on 60 just to make sure that you're staring at the screen. And then we ask you to authenticate. So by the way, we ask you to approve this session. Now, depending on the device you're on, if it's capable of doing bio, you can use that as an unlock factor, or otherwise the lowest common denominator is a PIN. If you entered your PIN, or in this case, I would just auth, that would approve this session and actually just authenticate me. From here on, so what has really happened here is the same private public key dance, by the way. So first of all, this is a multi-factor auth thing, right? There's a private key that resides on this device. In order to use that private key for the authentication dance, I had to unlock it using a gesture. So I got the something I have, and if I'm entering a PIN, it's the something I know, or if I'm using my bio, it's the something I am. And after that, you go through what might be familiar to some of you. You set up your hello. Now, if you were on a device that was capable of doing facial recognition, that would be the first experience you'll see. You'll be enrolled into your face, you'll create a PIN, and from there on out, you'll just go through the regular process and get onto your desktop. So you go through the entire process of setting up your PC without ever having to enter your password, ever. And now this is where the fun truly starts. You launch any app, you go to any website, so let's say you launch the Mail app, the Office apps, Store app, you're already signed in. Why? Because Windows knows that you logged in with hello. And this is where the modern auth libraries that I was referring to come into play. All of our inbox apps use them. That is how they're able to deliver this single sign-on experience. And like I said, this does not just limit itself to apps. It also carries over to web apps. So if I were to go to hotmail.com or outlook.com, onedrive.com, in the workplace, sharepoint.com, all of those things are just SSO'd and already good to go. And last but not the least, this is something I can show you. So you know how I was talking about that registry key that you can set up such that you don't have to enter your password? So I actually have done that on my PC right here. So there's too much somewhere. All right, so what I want to highlight is the fact that when you click on sign-in options, on your PCs, you'll actually see password. But on my PC, because I've set that reg key, password is not even enumerating as an option anymore. So you can't use a password. That's an excellent way of, well, going on that journey where you're systematically getting rid of that password. That's all I had. For more details, please come to the session at 2:15. And right now, I think maybe we can take questions for another 3 or 5 minutes. Thank you.